Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Vinyasa Flow with Dee. And let's start in a comfortable seated position. I have a blanket under my hips, elevating just my sits bones, probably about an inch, maybe an inch and a half off the floor. And let's make sure we have a strap today because I realize we haven't used it yet in this 5-week series. And so I wanted to make sure that we included it today. If you don't have a strap, just do the motions without using a strap. It's a kind of an accessible way of doing it. And that said, it could be a bathrobe belt or a regular belt or a tie, men's ties work, scarves work, that kind of thing. If you don't have anything, don't worry about it. All right. So let's all come to stillness. And let's just provide that little transition between the rest of our life that happened prior to this moment and what's going to happen after. Let's not worry about the future during this time either. And see if you can begin to let your body settle more and more, noticing that you don't relax all at once, but instead there's just like a continuum of relaxation going through the body slowly, area by area, bit by bit. And let's do an extended exhale pranayama. It's a simple one. There's not much control of the breath that needs to happen, but it is one that's a fallback one for me because of its ability to bring down anxiety and stress. And it's really simple to do, even if you're short of breath somewhat, and maybe some of the other pauses and some of the other pranayamas don't work well for your body. What we'll do is breathe into any count, just sort of count as you go. And as you exhale, make the count 1 to 2 counts longer, maybe build up to 3 to 4 counts longer on the exhale. Maybe build up so that you're lengthening your inhale and lengthening your exhale, but the exhale should always be longer than the inhale. This triggers your amygdala to be able to get the message through to your hippocampus that everything is fine, you're safe, and that you're starting to worry perhaps about things that either you can't control or things that you'd just rather not worry about right now. And just thinking in this way brings your body into this lower regulated state. So think of bringing yourself with this breath from the fight or flight, fawn or freeze stage, stressing out, or if it was long term, it would be labeled long term stress, right? And then notice the rest and digest calmness that comes over your body simply by changing this one little thing about your breathing pattern. Take a few moments to relax into your breath pattern here, extending the exhales. Take a moment to notice what changes this is bringing about in your body today. right now. And then set the extended breath aside, the extended exhale breath. And just watch what your body does next as you relinquish all the control of your breathing. And just let your body breathe itself. And we'll go ahead and begin to wiggle first our fingers, moving the hands perhaps a little bit, the fingers maybe a lot. And then we'll stretch out our legs, let the legs come out long across the mat or out into your room, off your mat, and we'll wiggle the toes. And let's grab the strap, the piece of material, the tie, whatever it is that you've found to use. And if you're watching the recording, you can always pause here and come back to it with the material that you need. And let's keep our legs in a comfortable position. So that means we can either keep them straight, or if you want to come into the easy pose, then you can do that. And let's just inhale, lifting this strap, holding it in both hands. Hands come up to shoulder height, and we're going to make a wide V with our arms out to the side, almost like eagle wings, almost all the way to our side body, but not quite. And then we'll inhale and try to lift the strap up over the head and back down behind the head. You can release the tension in the strap. And on the next inhale, lift the strap up above the head and exhale the strap down below the head. And now let's walk our hands, just one hand, fist rather, together toward each other on each side. And we'll do the same. Inhaling, the strap comes up. We're nice and tall, nice elevated spine. As we exhale, the hands come down the back side of the body. Inhale, they come up. Exhale, they release in front. And we walk our hands one handprint closer. We'll keep doing this sort of at our own pace, because eventually we're going to be in a spot where we're either going to have to readjust the width of the hands on the strap or bend one elbow to get the strap to come down in the back. And so if you're having that difficulty, or when you have that difficulty would probably be a more accurate statement, go ahead and walk the hands back out wide and continue with your breath, lifting the strap on each inhale, lowering the strap on each exhale. Just getting the shoulders and the arms a little stretch, a little openness here. And the next time the strap is up over your head, let's lean to one side, keeping both hands in the same space, side to side, left to right, if that makes sense. So one hand isn't more forward or back behind the other. And we'll go to each side. We'll come back to center. So we can inhale to come up, just like we did before. Exhale, lateral stretch. Let the lower hand sort of open up this side of your body that's being stretched, the opposite side. And let's do one more, each direction. And the next time your arms are up over your head, release your hands, release the strap. And you can set it aside. We'll need it later in the class, though. Let's bring our legs and our feet into butterfly. And just set your heels as close to your hips as you'd like for right now. So just feel what feels natural. If you're straining to keep your knees lifted at all, then the pose isn't going to work for you. You'd move your heels just a little bit away from your hips. You want the knees to be able to relax out to the side. And make sure you're sitting up nice and tall on your sits bones. Maybe readjust if you need to from that last series of poses. And we'll begin by stretching both hands over to the right. And we're going to turn our chest towards that right thigh. And we're going to walk our hands in a rainbow or arc shape. We're going to come as far forward into a forward fold in this butterfly leg position as we can. We're keeping our left and right shoulder and chest kind of even with each other. And when we get all the way over to the left, leave your left hand planted there. Turn your chest back towards your device and inhale the arm up and exhale the arm over. And then inhale to lift the whole body up, hand and arm come up too. Exhale that arm down by your side, and we'll do the same thing over towards the left. We're going to reach our hands to the outside of the knee, turn our chest towards this left thigh, and walk our hands in a rainbow arc shape so that we come forward over our feet, and then to each side over the thigh. This time we plant the right hand, and we're just going to inhale that arm. We're kind of already leaning over, and then we'll open those side ribs as we exhale. Let the next inhale sit you up nice and tall. The right hand can slide toward the hips to give you some support, and we'll exhale that left hand down. Let's do that again with the heels farther away from the body. Let's just try this out, see how it feels. So we'll start again on the right side by reaching our left hand over to the right, and we're going to bend our upper body over that right thigh, and we're going to start walking our hands, hand over hand, or just right next to each other. And just notice what happens here between your hips and your spine, how lifted or lowered your shoulders might be here. And then we'll plant that left side down and let your inhale and exhale lead you into a lateral twist on this side. And then let's inhale that arm up. We'll sit up nice and straight and tall. Exhale, the right arm comes down. So with the heels still in the same place, moved out away from the hips, we'll begin to walk our hands or lean our hands over, bringing the chest to the left thigh, and then walk in a similar arc as before. Maybe this arc is different than what you had when your heels were a little closer, and that's kind of what we're exploring here. Once you're all the way over to the right, plant that right palm and let that left arm come up on the inhale and exhale to release it by your side. Let the next inhale lift you straight up and down, sitting up nice and tall on the sits bones. And that exhale releases the arm down by your side. And let's lean back on our hands and just tap the backs of our knees against the floor. And we're going to head next over onto our side body. And we're going to prop ourselves up on our lower elbow and forearm. So you can remove the blanket or towel from your mat. Stretch both legs out long. You're stacking your shoulders and your hips. If you need to, this might feel pretty good to bring that blanket or towel back and set that underneath your hips so that that hip bone might not dig into the floor quite so intensely. And let's bring our feet together so that our big toes are touching as much of the foot on top is touching the side of the foot on the bottom as possible. So the sides of the feet, rather, are what you're looking for to be stacked here. Now, keeping the foot in that same orientation, toes just pointing forward, lift that leg up away from the lower leg. So top leg lifts, we'll press through the heel and we'll exhale to lower. Let's do 4 more of these. Inhale to lift slowly, hold it here. Exhale to lower slowly. And keep doing this at your own pace, holding for maybe a breath, and then releasing or going ahead and releasing right away. letting your body determine what you do in your yoga practice. Remember, I'm just facilitating. And on the fifth one, we'll lower the top foot down. This time, as we lift this leg, we're going to turn the toes toward us and see what kind of range of motion we have to draw the toes towards the head. And then slowly replace that foot and leg back down on top of the opposite one. So you can use your top hand and arm to help you press into the floor here and just notice the stretch you're getting, perhaps on the inside of your thigh that's lifting, perhaps in the back of that thigh that's lifting. And once you've done 5, go ahead and release that foot down. And you can either roll over onto your other side, face the opposite direction, and just listen to the cues, or you can switch to the opposite side of your mat. Again, we'll prop ourselves up on one elbow and forearm. We're going to start with our feet touching. They're kind of kissing each other. Toes are pointed straight out in front of you. And as you're ready, inhale to lift that foot up. And then exhale to release that foot, pausing for just a moment. Maybe a breath. You can exhale, then inhale, then release as you exhale down. See if that works for you. Nice to attach our breath to our movements. And when you've done 5 of these, you can begin to draw your toes toward you, towards your head as you lift the leg, bringing the knee towards your shoulder, and then releasing that foot. Just noticing your balance on this side compared to the opposite side with this more intense motion and the difference with the way the toes are pointed, how much more effort it might be here than it was when you didn't lift your leg quite so high. After 5, we'll go ahead and release that foot down. And then let's go onto our stomachs. Sorry, we'll roll onto our stomachs from here. And let's draw our arms down by our sides. Maybe set our palms to be up towards the sky. And see if you can rest on your forehead and have enough room for your nose and your mouth to breathe. Let's inhale and lift up our head, neck, and chest away from the floor. Let's hold here as we take a breath and notice the tightening of the abdominal muscles. As you exhale, release. Let the forehead rest back on the floor. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhaling to lift head, neck, and chest. Shoulders can come up a little bit more here. And then exhale to lower. One more. Inhale to lift, head, neck, and shoulders. Exhale to lower. Now we're going to add one hand to our lifted head. Let's inhale. And then lift our head up away from the mat and lift the right or left hand up towards the ceiling behind you. Let an exhale lower the body down. Inhale again. And when you get to the top of that inhale, let your head, neck, and chest float up, and let that left hand, or if you did the left before, let the right hand float up towards the ceiling, not moving it very high, maybe 2 to 5 to 8 inches. If you'd like to keep doing both sides, coming into half locust, feeling that tightness in the abdominal muscles every time you inflate the lungs, and let the inflation of the lungs lift your head, neck, and chest and hand, or you can inflate your lungs with the next inhale. And at the top of that inhale, lift your head, neck, and chest and reach your hands back behind you, lifting them up away from the floor. Now let's lift the head, neck, and chest on the next inhale. And move your fingertips towards your heel. So there isn't much of a lift here as before, but we're trying to reach our fingertips towards our feet. And we're going to go ahead and release our spine, our head, and our neck. Let's bring our hands around to the front, stack our palms, and rest our forehead here. And take a couple of breaths. Let your stomach soften. Let your chest soften. Tissues surrounding your rib cage. We're going to leave our right forearm where it is, the elbows bent out to the side, and the right hand is right under our forehead. We're going to inhale, bend our left knee, and reach our right hand around to that side. Maybe grab a pant leg, an ankle, a foot. And then inhale, wait to the top of your inhale. And then see if you can lift your head up a little bit. That thigh can come off the ground, the knee along with the thigh. And then we'll exhale, releasing, coming into half bow, letting the left foot float down to the mat and the left hand can come around under the forehead. Let's move to the other side. We'll inhale the next breath. At the top of that inhale, lift your head, neck, and chest. Bend that right knee. Send your right hand around the side to hold on to your right foot. And then take a breath here, holding your half bow on the opposite side. Exhaling to release, letting go of the foot, bringing the hand around to the front. We can do half bow on each side next, or we can come into full bow. Either way, sort of go at your own pace. You'll be taking 2 full inhales if you're doing half bow, and only 1 full inhale to begin if you're doing full bow. So as you're ready, inflate those lungs, then lift your head, neck, and chest, bend both knees, reach around to your feet, and see if you can lift your thighs and maybe a little more of your chest off the ground. Roll your shoulders back. And exhale as you're ready to release. Unbend your knees, stack your palms under your forehead, and take a few breaths here. On your next inhale, begin to walk your elbows back in towards your shoulders. You're bringing the elbows right under the shoulders and then a little forward. We'll keep our wrists and those 3 middle fingers in line with our elbows here. And we're arching our back, coming into Sphinx. Let's make the lower half of our body really weighted. And on the next inhale, let's try to lift up through our shoulders and the crown of our head, stretching our spine from our hips to our crown. And then let's exhale, lower the body down. Take a couple of breaths of rest in prone pose here, face down, belly down. And next, let's head over onto our spine. So we're going to roll here, set the hips back in the center of the mat. Let's draw both knees into our chest, rounding out the spine, giving our body, our spine, a counter pose to the arch that was just seconds before. Feel your whole spine lying on the mat. Doesn't matter how far your knees are into your chest. The more you can bring your feet over your knees, if that's a more comfortable position for you, the better. You're trying to round out your spine and really press your upper body into the mat. We'll release our feet. They float down to the floor. We're going to cross our right leg over our left as if we were sitting in a chair and we wanted to cross our legs. Feet would be underneath the chair in this position. And we're going to come into eagle arms first. So we'll inhale our arms out wide like wings. As we exhale, let's bring the left elbow on top of the right. So the left arm glides across and over the right elbow until we can make an X. Let's bring our hands to our shoulders and know that if it's really difficult to cross your elbows, you can bring your hands and elbows together and then bend through your elbows. Bring your hands apart rather, and give yourself that hug. Hugs are important, self hugs. And then bring your hands back together, your elbows back together. And now let's introduce the legs. So let's inhale, lifting our feet and our heels and our ankles so that the heels and ankles are knee height. And now, whatever position your arms are in, go ahead and inhale and lift your elbows, which lifts your fingers and sort of moves your forearms farther above your head, stretching your shoulders. Think of the abdominal work your body's doing as you exhale, bringing your elbows back in towards your chest, and then release your feet, let them float down to the mat, uncross that right knee. And let's come into windshield wipers, stretching the arms out wide like wings, rotating our palms down towards the mat, and just letting the feet sway side to side, maybe with the breath, inhaling to lift, exhaling to lower, keeping it slow here. And then the next time your knees are up towards the ceiling, we'll cross the left knee over the right as if we were sitting in a chair. Arms are already out wide like wings, so rotate your palms so that they're up towards the sky. And as we exhale, we'll bring our hands and arms together, elbows and hands touching, or we'll make the X with our arms. Everybody bends the elbows to bring the hands to the shoulders for a self hug. And then bring your hands together, forearms together, or in the cross state, you can bring the backs of the hands together, or maybe sort of spiral your arms around each other more. Now we'll inhale to lift the knees, lift the feet. Feet float away from the floor. They're at knee height now. And we'll inhale, lifting the tips of our fingers towards and maybe past the top of your mat. Let the next exhale draw your elbows in towards your chest, unwind your arms, let your feet float down, unwind your legs, and take a couple windshield wipers to just release the spine, release the abdomen, all that work that you were doing in your upper and lower abdomen. And the next time your knees are over on your favorite side for sleeping, we're going to stack our hips, stack our shoulders, and take a breath here in the seed pose before you press yourself up away from the floor. Another name for this pose is the fetus position or the fetal position. And so just imagine as a seed that you're ready for a new beginning. You're ready to be put into some soil and taking on a new life, perhaps. So let's, on the next inhale, extend that top leg if that helps give you momentum. Press down on that top hand and walk your hands towards your hips. And we'll come into table actually from there. So you may or may not want to set up your blanket. Give yourself a little extra added cushion. And let's begin with cat-cows. I like to have the insides of my elbows facing each other. And that can bring your thumbs pointing in toward each other at a place that's parallel to the short end of your mat. And let's just begin rounding the spine, dropping the head and tailbone, moving our spine through neutral and into cow, releasing the navel towards the floor, tailbone lifts, head lifts. Your vision could come to the top of the mat or maybe just past. And let yourself slowly glide or undulate your spine back and forth. One more cat and one more cow. And we'll bring our spine to neutral. And let's step our left leg back. Set your toes underneath the foot and let's press on the hands to start to lower the heel. Keep your toes grounded. Let the ball of your foot ground as soon as it is stable on the floor. And see if you can press into your hands and wrists enough that you get a nice stretch in the back of your calf. Then let's bring our hips back up over our remaining knee, over that right knee. And let's bring our left leg straight out to the side. So it's just going to fan over to the left side. And we're going to come on to the inside edge of our left foot. Now let's begin to move our hips forward and back. We're keeping our left foot grounded, the toes and the heel. We can change the position of our arms if it helps. And we're going to draw our chest towards the top of the mat and then away from the top of the mat. And with the foot staying stable by your side, you should get a nice stretch as you move back and perhaps as you move forward. Next time your hips are over that right knee, let's draw the left knee in, coming evenly onto both sides, left and right, even front to back, hands and feet, distributing weight equally. On the next inhale, we'll step our right foot back, toes curled under. Let's press into our hands, keeping our toes planted where they are and lowering our heels towards the floor till we feel the stretch in the lower leg. Inhale to bring the hips back up over that left knee. And then on the next inhale, glide that right foot out to the side. Let the foot, especially the heels, should be right in line with your hips when the hip is over the left knee still. And now we'll rock forward and then back, noticing the pressure on the wrists, changing with different positions. You might want to change the positions of your hands. That's okay. And feel where the stretch is calling out the most. Is it when you're going forward or when you're going back or both? How easy is it to balance on one knee, two hands? Next time your hips are over that left knee, draw that right knee in. And let's do a couple more cat-cows. Undulating the spine once again, letting the navel lift, and then letting the navel lower. Next time your heel, excuse me, not your heel, next time your spine, your hips are neutral, keep it there, and let's step the left foot forward. We'll bring the foot in between our hands, and we'll leave that left leg, excuse me, right leg planted where it is, and let's try to walk the left foot, excuse me, up so that it's underneath the shoulder. The heel is underneath the knee and perhaps the shoulder. And let's sink into our runner's lunge here, feeling the stretch in the center at the top of the right thigh. Pressing our hands into the floor, just letting the hips release forward. Now, let's begin to walk our hands towards that back knee, slowly shifting our hips back towards the heel. Keep your left heel planted and keep lowering your hips. And it doesn't matter, by the way, if your back foot is flat or the toes are curled under, but try to get a nice hamstring stretch here by keeping your upper body extended, hinging at the hip over your lower body. And then you can either rock your hips forward to bring the left foot and knee back into place, or you can stay here and slide that foot back and just let that left knee come back under you. And let's sway the hips from left to left. Sorry, left to right. So it's like you're windshield wipering backwards. The hips are moving now, but the knees are not. Let's come back to center. We'll shift over to the left side to step that right foot forward. Let's lean into that back leg so that it doesn't move at all until we can bring our right heel under the right knee and our shoulder is forward. That right shoulder is maybe right on top of the right knee. You can always use blocks, by the way. I do tend to like more space between my upper and lower body. There's something about it helping me extend my spine long here. Because not only is this a hip release, but we can make it a spine lengthener by pressing up through the crown of our head at that diagonal. Then from here, we'll keep that front heel planted. We'll start to shift our hips back. We can lift our toes up away from the floor and come into a nice stretch in the back of the hip, the thigh, the calf. And then decide if you want to pull that leg back right here or if you want to slide your hips forward first. All right, next, let's walk our hands towards the top of the mat and we'll start to straighten out the upper part of our body. Knees are on the floor, hip distance apart, and the tops of your feet are on the floor, hip distance apart. And let's sink our hips low enough, not so low that the hips come under the shoulders. We want the hips and shoulders in line. So we're coming into half plank here. If you'd like to curl under both toes, lift your knees up off the mat, come into plank here. From here, we can lower our knees, bring our right hand to the center of our mat, kick that right foot out to the right side of the mat, stack our hips and shoulders, and come into a half side plank. So we're lifting our left arm up into the air. It wouldn't matter if you had your right arm. You would just do the other side next. But we're stacking our shoulders, our wrists. On the next inhale, we can lift the top leg, bring it to parallel. Come from half plank to half moon. And then let's exhale, lowering the foot, lowering that left hand, squaring our shoulders and hips back down towards the ground. And if you'd like, you can come into a side plank by lifting the knees up off the mat, bringing the right hand to the center, shifting both heels to the right, pointing your toes on both feet forward, and not having that lower leg lifted. If half plank works better for you, that's fine. But we'll all meet back in table. And let's switch that to the other side. So from here, keeping the knees where they are, walk your hands forward, release your hips down till they're in line with the knees and the shoulders. They're halfway in between. Our feet can be flat or our toes can be curled under. It does not matter. Usually people have a preference that works better for their body. If we want, we can come into full plank for a few breaths. This is where you can make yoga your own and you can be as intense or not as intense as you want to be. Make it as yang as you want or make it a little less yang, a little less energetic. Is up to you. But from here, from either low or high plank, you can come into your half moon, or sorry, your side plank first with the foot that's extended out on the ground, or you can come into half moon. You can shift mid-stream, come into a full side plank. Whatever it is, whatever your goal is, we'll all meet back in child's pose. When you've squared your chest and hips forward and you're sinking your hips and chest down towards the floor. Hips come as close to your heels as they can, knowing that if you're up on forearms for child's pose, that's totally fine. You can even grab a couple blocks, make it a little comfortable, putting foam underneath. And then you'll get a stretch wherever your hips happen to be. We'll take a couple breaths here. On the next inhale, let's come back to our table. We can move our blocks out of the way. We're going to come back to either plank or half plank for a couple more breaths. And then let's release slowly down to the floor. Slow your descent by starting to bend your elbows and keep your elbows in. And if you're just releasing from your knees to your chest and shoulders, that's fine. If you're releasing from your feet to your chest and shoulders, that's fine too. We all have a way of coming down to the floor that works for our bodies. Maybe our hips land first, maybe our knees land first. Do what's comfortable for you. Hands are underneath shoulders, elbows are still together. Let's inhale, wait to the top of that inhale. We're going to lift ourselves up into cobra, using the top of that inhale to help us rise up out of, or off of rather, the floor, pressing down through the hands, stretching the front side of the body, exhaling to release. Make a little pillow with your hands. Rest your forehead. Take a breath. On the next inhale, bring your hands right underneath your shoulders. Press yourself up to table or to half plank. If you go to table first, come into half plank second, or come into plank. And then we'll release from plank as slowly as we can, letting the elbows bend and stay in towards the side body. Head and chest come down and release as well. And then we'll come up into cobra, waiting for the tip of the inhale. Lungs are inflated to then lift ourselves and press away from the floor. It's almost like you're exhaling to lift up by that point. Exhale again to lower your upper body down. And let's sink back this time into child's pose. Rounding out the spine, maybe keeping the knees together, or if it's more comfortable, walking the knees a bit wider. Letting your chest and your abdomen release more towards the floor. I would do whatever felt best for my back and hips here, and knees. And as I said, if your hips are really lifted, you might want to curl under your toes, and you can be in any shape you want, halfway down, halfway up, doesn't matter. Take one more breath here. And then on the next inhale, we'll come back up to our table, walk our knees together if we need to, curl our toes under, come up into downward facing dog. From here, see if it works to walk your hands towards your feet, or see if it works to draw your feet towards your hands. Come into a forward fold. If down dogs and forward folds are difficult for you, step 1 foot forward, come up through kneeling, and meet us in mountain. Let the next inhale sweep your arms out to the side as you press down through both feet and lift up through your torso, bringing your hands together on top of your head, or above your head rather, and exhaling your hands down to your heart. Let's all walk to the top of our mats, making sure our blocks are right thigh, maybe our chest level on either side. Let's do a sun salutation on each side here. So we'll let the next inhale lift our arms up overhead, sun breath. Exhale, nose dive, forward fold. Bend the knees, bend the elbows. Keep the knees bent. Rest the upper body. Rest the abdomen on the thighs. Inhale to come up halfway. Straightening the knees, hands come to the thighs. Exhale, release your hands to the floor, plant them there, step the left foot back, and then inhale using the blocks, using your hands, pressing down against the mat to lift your upper body up, to stack your shoulders over your hips. Let your next inhale bring your arms out to the front or out to the sides, up over your head, one or both arms, or you might bring them to your heart. Let's add in a twist here by facing towards the right side. So let's bring our left elbow across the body over towards that and on top of that left knee. And we'll turn our chest and our head as we do that. Let the next inhale square your shoulders and abdomen back to the front. Exhale releases the hands down to the floor, plants them. We'll come back into plank or half plank. Inhale to press on the toes, lift the head. Exhale, lower the whole body to the floor, slowing your descent there. Inhale to lift up into cobra. Exhale to release, tuck under the feet. An inhale brings you up to downward facing dog. From here, let's walk our hands to our feet or our feet to our hands, either way. And we'll come up through a kneel or a forward fold. And we'll all meet standing in mountain, hands at our heart. Let's walk to the top of our mat if we need to, if we ended up in a different place. Let the next inhale, sun breath, lifts the arms, hands come together over the head. Exhale, nose dive, forward fold, bend the elbows, bend the knees. Inhale, come up halfway. Exhale, releases the upper body back down. We plant the hands. This time we step the right foot back. We can use the floor or our blocks on the next inhale to lift our upper body over our lower body. And then we'll inhale, the arms come back, reach up towards the ceiling. We'll bring our hands together down to heart center, elbows out to the side. And this time, right elbow goes towards left knee. As we turn our chest to the side, keep our hands in front of the middle of the chest and really press into that forward leg. Let's move our chest back to center and then plant the hands and come back into that plank or half plank. Take a breath or two here. Inhale to lift the top of your head forward. Exhale, lowers the upper body, slowing the descent. Inhale brings you to cobra, pressing down through the hands, lifting up through the head, neck, and chest. Exhale to release. Elbows are still into the side, and we'll press our upper body and then our lower body away from the earth into a downward facing dog again. We'll walk our hands towards our feet here, or our feet towards our hands. Come up through a kneel. Let's all meet in mountain with our hands together at our heart. And let's come into eagle, arms and legs. So let's set the block right outside of our right foot. We'll come to a standing position, feet hip distance apart. And let's cross our left leg over our right. I'm mirroring you all this practice. And let's see if we can sync by bending that lower knee, letting our hips come down a little closer to the mat. The chest still stays on top of the hips, but we're adding a little bit more intensity to the right hip. Let's inhale, both arms out wide like a wings, like eagle wings, excuse me, going too fast. Exhale, we bring our hands and our arms either together or we cross them. This time, right arm goes on top since left leg is on top. Then we'll bend the elbow, come into whatever hand position we'd like. Fingers reaching towards the sky as we inhale, they lift up even more, stretching the back of the shoulders. Exhale, let's the elbows come back down towards the chest. Let's unwind our arms, unwind our legs, and we'll set the block up on the opposite side. Both feet are now to the right of the block. We'll cross the right leg over the left, sink our hips down by bending the knee, maybe staying here, maybe getting tired and straightening the leg, maybe getting a challenge and deepening the knee bend at some point. Inhale the arms out wide like wings. This time left elbow crosses over right if that's what you're doing. And we'll bring our arms together, hands together. Inhale lifts the elbows from probably mid chest to a little higher, maybe than shoulder height or somewhere around shoulder height. And then let's exhale, lowering our elbows back into our chest. Unwind your hands, unwind your legs, and let's make our way down to the mat. We'll grab the strap on our way down. And let's start with whatever leg we want to start with. Find the middle of your strap, wrap it around one of the sets of toes so that the top of the strap is right at the crease where your toes come out of your foot. That makes sense. And let's take the first inhale, letting the hand slide down the strap or the piece of material till the elbows hit the floor. If they don't and you have a shorter thing you're working with, it's not a problem. It's just you're not relaxing as much, which you really don't need to in this pose. I mean, it's an added plus, but not a necessity. So as you inhale, root your sacrum into the floor and lift the sole of the lifted foot towards the sky. Excuse me. As you exhale next, draw that leg toward you. And take a couple of breaths here. The knee can be bent or straight. On the next inhale, move your heel so that it's back on top of your hip and switch the strap from your left hand to your right hand. On the next exhale, slowly fan your right leg out to the side. Just let it slowly lower. Let your right elbow be pressing into the floor. The upper arm lying along the floor, but the lower arm is at a 90-degree angle. So we're keeping our chest and our hips from rolling over towards this right leg. Another trick is to just open up that left leg. Let the left leg counter the weight of the right leg sinking. Let your next inhale bring both knees together. Right leg comes back up towards the ceiling. We'll switch straps. And we're going to exhale, just letting the foot, the right leg, come a little bit towards the midline. Maybe cross it a little bit, not much. This is not a very big move that you're looking for. It may feel best to just put both hands worth of weight, or both arms really, worth of weight onto this strap to really embed the right femur into the right hip and feel that stretch. We want to go deep sometimes and not go our full range of motion. Let the next inhale bring the foot back up over the hip. You didn't have to move it very far. We'll bend through that knee, release the strap from behind those toes, and set ourselves up on the opposite side. Lifting the opposite leg into the air. And just first, really rooting the sacrum, lifting the sole of your foot towards the sky. As you inhale, try to extend the length of your leg. Again, still pressing into the ground here. And as you exhale, draw your toes toward you. Knee comes a little closer to the nose or chin. Take a couple breaths here. Let your next inhale situate the left heel right on top of the left hip. We'll move the strap from the right hand into the left. And let's slowly on the next exhale begin releasing the left foot out to the side. Bending up through that left elbow to provide the stability to keep ourselves squared towards the sky, and even letting that right knee come out to the side to get a deeper stretch on the inner thigh of the left leg. Good. Now, next inhale can bring the foot back up over the hips. We'll switch both straps to our left hand or hold on with both. And we'll let the heel come slightly over to the right, that left heel and foot. But we're going to place as much weight kind of hanging on this strap with our hands, hanging on to it to really drive the left femur into that left hip. Strengthen these muscles that are tendons, really connective tissues, let's just call them, that help the body maintain hip health. And then on the next inhale, bring your heel that 1 to 2 inches back over the left hip. Bend down through the knee. Sorry, it didn't matter which side you were on. You might have chosen a different side order. Anyway, let the foot float down. Set your strap to the side. And let's do a really quick student choice. Maybe you do a full body stretch. Maybe you do a quick reclining twist. Maybe you do banana asana on both sides. And then begin to set yourself up for your final shavasana. Maybe place a blanket or towel behind your head. Close down your eyes and bring your arms, your legs, your spine, your head. Everything goes into a comfortable, trusted, tried and true position that can be your final shavasana. It allows you to sink into the ground, sink into the earth, and relax as much as possible. Begin to deepen your breath. And let's practice concentrating on the breath. As thoughts carry you away, bring your attention back to your chest and just let that next inhale catch your awareness and keep focusing on the breath from there till it happens all over again. You get distracted by a thought, a feeling, or emotion. You kind of climb into a wormhole of differing lengths of time, perhaps. Realize that you're thinking thoughts and come back to yourself. See if you can feel your body coming closer to the earth, maybe putting more pressure into the earth, floor, the mat. In addition to focusing on the breath, begin to lengthen the breath. Deeper inhales, slower exhales. And let's begin to rock our head from left to right, initiating just this tiny movement in our body. We'll bring our chin back over our sternum and then roll completely over onto one side, stacking hips and shoulders, and then pressing ourselves up away from the floor. Coming on to our sits bones in a comfortable seated position. Let's lengthen up through the spine as we press into the floor through those two protruding bones underneath. And on your next inhale, lift your arms out to the side, up overhead, bring your hands together. And as you exhale, release your hands to your heart, closing your eyes and dropping your chin towards your chest so that you can bow to the divine being that's inside of you. The light in me honors the light in you. Let your next inhale, lift your chin, flutter open your eyes, release your hands, and thank you so much for joining me today for Vinyasa Flow. Excellent. And I'll see you next time. Take care.